Welcome everyone to Broken by Concept, episode 119. I love my BBCers. People love me calling them the BBCers.
Because you've deprived them for so long, Curtis.
I know,
I'm the one that addresses the community by their
I thought it was
proper
your
name.
word. I didn't want to steal your word.
No, but we're a community. We're the BBCers, man.
All right, from now on, it's a communal word.
The YouTube comments love it when Curtis says it. They get so
They do.
excited. Those are the two things people love. You wearing shorts.
Oh, well, I'm trying to be I've got like the dad outfit going on. You know, I'm trying to be I love dressing like a dad. That's my new thing at the moment, you know.
So the dad look is sneakers with socks,
sneakers.
like long, high socks.
I don't have the long socks on right now, but I want to get the long socks with sneakers and then shorts and then some
t-shirt, but it's not like
t-shirt.
fancy. It's like really like scrappy clothing, comfy clothing.
That's what dad clothing is. Just comfortable. You know? I just want to be. I just love the dad
especially
aesthetic,
in summer, dude.
It's got now the only thing missing is the Asics shoes. You know, like the.
Is that the specific ones I have?
Like the El Clasico.
Okay, yeah.
Dad shoes.
They're not like Yeezys.
Oh, I don't have. I just have classic Adidas, but yeah. More dad looking ones. You know, white ones.
So yeah, shorts and addressing them as BBCs, Curtis. That will keep our listeners pleased.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about because last episode, you know, we did a very exploratory episode. We kind of did a off the cuff exploring a bunch of things, and we spoke a lot about complexity of champion pools, didn't we? We introduced that as a thing, and we didn't really think of complexity of champion pools as a concept, and I've really gone deep on this week. Like I've really investigated.
You've talked with the community a lot.
I've reflected on a lot of past failures from the community, and I've got two little things here I want to talk about. So first of all, I had a client recently that left the MLA, and I failed him, I believe. And he had a lot of stuff going on in his own life. It wasn't just purely, my failings as a teacher. I don't think he was the greatest student as well. And he even admits that, right? But I really reflect on what I could have done better to better serve him and have a better experience in the MLA. And one of the big mistakes I made is that I should have stood my ground from day one that he shouldn't have played the champions that he was playing. And now I've really, I've reflected and actually a question I've been asking a lot of my clients right now, what's your pool? And I'm just really curious, like the people that are not getting results, what are their pools? And even the people that are getting results. So I've done a bit of research, and this guy specifically, right? He was not a gifted gamer and he played Oriana. Oriana is actually a very difficult champion. She's not an easy champion at all, both mechanically and also just your identity. It's
How to win games with Oriana.
How to win games with Oriana is not very clear, right? Winning games with a champion like Vex is extremely clear, right? It's like, I know what I got to do in a fight. I know where I need to be. I know what my spikes are. It's just very obvious,
Because
right?
even Oriana, like your positioning, spacing, awareness, because when I think about really effective Orianas, it's not so much the ult. The ult is obviously the big, cool play. It's those little chunks of those cues and
Small wins.
And the positioning, because like Oriana does damage, man. And like, playing around, positioning, as I said, spacing.
Beautiful positioning, tethering. It's all the small
It's
details,
advanced
right?
stuff, yeah.
It's a
A lot
very
of anticipation.
The skill cap on Ori is extremely high, and you have no mobility, so you're super susceptible to ganks. And so he really struggled with Oriana, and that was already a red flag in my mind. I don't think he had the best experience leading up into League in his journey, and we shouldn't have started with Oriana. But nevertheless, that happened, and he ended up getting better, but he got a bit stuck. So I said, okay, let's add a second champ. And at that time,
How long did you have him playing Oriana for?
ages. We're talking months. Dude.
Months, okay.
And hundreds of games, like
Okay.
a lot, and process oriented everything.
And
like
zero
barely any
rank
results.
progress. Do you feel like did you look like he got better?
Yeah, he said he learns a lot, and he was learning a lot, and he was, but like
Just wasn't
it was the
winning
small
games.
things missing that were leading him to not winning the game, right?
Yeah.
And he was just mentally struggling with the journey. Like mentally, it just wasn't.
It beats
clicking.
you down, dude. That's going to beat anyone down.
And I think the sign was that he genuinely wasn't playing Oriana because he was having fun. He was playing Oriana because he thought that that's what he needed to play to learn mid lane. And that was one of the big mistakes, right? And then he's like, okay, at that time I said, let's add a new champion. I said, what do you think is fun for you, right? And fun is very important. And he was interested in Silas. Silas as well is an incredibly complex champion and probably actually one of the hardest in terms of identity. Your identity literally changes every single game.
Based on ults.
So think about this. He's already low confidence in a hole with Orianna, then attempts to learn Silas.
But he has lots of fun learning Silas.
In a way, but fun doesn't last when you're getting no results and you're going backwards, right? So he's actually gone now down from what he was. And this guy, and then that was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's like, well, what am I even doing? I spent months in here. I haven't got any results. Yeah. I'm trying my ass off. I'm going nowhere. And yes, there was a lot of other stage 3 issues going on and stuff like that. But it made me reflect. It's like, I screwed him over by allowing him to play Orianna. That was actually the main problem. I actually am starting to think, I don't even know if it's possible to learn League if you don't enjoy the champion. Like if you try to learn the game through the lens of like an Orianna or someone says an Annie because it's like it's good for learning. Like say LS tells you to play Annie and because it's a simple champ. Yes, having a simple champion is important when you start, which was what we should have done. We should have done a simple champion, but you also have to not hate it. You have to like somewhat enjoy it. You don't have to love it. If you do love it, it helps, but you got to... you definitely can't dislike it. And I think that ruined his League experience. And when I think to another client who played way less, had a terrible process, he was studying full-time, studying like ridiculous amount of hours, like spamming games and everything. He went from Plat 4 to Plat 1. You know why? Because he had a blast playing his Swain and Galio. Simple champs with simple identities, simple mechanically. And if we were to kind of stack up these players, the other guy who quit was probably better than this guy, but was demoted from Plat to Gold. The other guy got to Plat 1.
Was this other guy, the Galio Swain guy, is he a good student?
No. Okay. He's actually in the MLA. He doesn't even get coaching sessions from me anymore. Okay, yeah. And he doesn't even have a good process, nothing. Yeah. He's an old school client. And we have done a lot of sessions in the past, but he's not what I would think is to be an amazing student. Not by I love gifts, but not by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's an amazing student. But what he had was a blast. He had a lot of fun, and he owned his identity, and he played simple champions. And this is what led me to now the two things and the analogy I came up with, which is in League, fun and curiosity are kind of like the bedrock of improving at the game. Fun and curiosity. Think of the analogy of like giving a kid a Rubik's Cube. Let's say you give an 8-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid a Rubik's Cube, and that kid is like fascinated by this thing. And if they're really fascinated by it, they will find a way to crack the code and finish this thing. Even if they have to bloody cheat and peel off the stickers, they'll find a way to get it done, right? And they'll have fun doing it because they're curious. Fun and curiosity go hand in hand, right? But let's say you give a kid, an 8-year-old kid who doesn't give a shit about this Rubik's Cube. Say, hey, son, here's your Rubik's Cube. Try and get all the colors right. Like, what the hell is this? And they just kick it into the corner,
a little bit of attempts. They're like, yeah, it's too hard.
Not because they can't do it, because...
They're just not interested
in it. Not interested in it. They're not having fun with it, And so it's not about the person's ability. It's about how much fun and how much curiosity you have. And the great thing about fun and curiosity, Nathan, is that it cuts through ego. It cuts through all the negative parts of the game. Think about like the things like where tilt queuing, blaming teammates, not getting into the review, all these things. If you're having a lot of fun and you're extremely curious, are you going to do that?
It's funny. I used to say this I had a couple of old clients back in like 2020 when I first started Saltu, and I was doing like lots of reviews with him, and then I just said to him this one time, I was like, man, like the way you talk about the game, the way we do reviews, the questions you type of ask, it just sounds like you're having a miserable experience. If I was playing the game this way, with this approach, this way you talk about it, it would just be so like, why are you here? What are you doing? And that's just what I got sort of feeling. I never thought of it, how fun's like really like, as you said, it's the bedrock.
Fun is,
but it just felt, I just felt like there's just we're not going anywhere. Like it's just such a miserable existence playing the game. And League, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. People's perspective on League and solo queue, it just, you can, like me, I'm so excited about solo queue, even after for so long, dude. I love League of Legends, right? And then there's people that just, they always talk about their teammates tilting or thing. Like that stuff exists in my games as well, but I don't put any energy. I don't care about that, dude. That's not the fun part.
That's not the fun part.
But the more you talk about that, it just drains the game. It drains everything.
Less fun.
You know what drains the game as well is definitely the following that whole meta thing and like pro meta and stuff. I think that drains the game a lot as well because it's just very rigid. And
I think there's an element.
I think that you could also view that as fun as well. You can view it as
fun. I think that's subjective.
It's like I want to play the best champions because it just dominates.
Yeah, or you're interested in the way meta develops. So where this gets even more interesting, I have a client who he learns piano and he went to his piano teacher. And he's really learning. Learning some advanced pieces of music, and he got into a conversation about learning with the piano teacher, and the piano teacher said this. He believes. Okay, actually, rather than getting to the punchline, I'm gonna tell the story. He was told to play this piece of music, and I believe it was a piece that he didn't really enjoy or something like that, and he practiced it. But no matter how much he practiced, he still couldn't really play it that well. But other more advanced songs that he enjoyed, he could kill it. He was killing it, right? And so what the piano teacher said, his teaching philosophy and what he believes to be the case in piano was, think of it as a pyramid, right? Fun is actually, it actually goes fun, then fundamentals, then whatever you're learning is next. The other way around. Sorry, fundamentals and then fun and then the skills.
Okay.
So fundamentals is always there no matter what, like learning like the fundamentals of whatever it is you're doing that exist. Then fun. Then the piece of music itself, or in our case, when it comes to League, then the champion. Or like the skill set or whatever it might be, the specific skill. Or game, right? And it really got me thinking. I'm like, that is exactly the same as League. The fundamentals of utmost importance, they stay there, right? They're the bedrock. But what I always thought was that fun came later. Fun came later after like champ mastery and stuff like that. And like fun was like a side thing. But he believed fun and your fundamental love for that music it's like it's part of the recipe. Without it, you won't be able to learn. You won't be able to learn properly. And he observed this in a lot of his students. He said that without the fun element, you can actually get worse. So you actually go backwards. So he viewed it as like your unconscious, your subconscious, your muscle memory degrades when you're not having fun. That's what he actually said. You actually get worse.
The word that springs to mind here is that's burnout.
Right. Yeah.
The question for you and I do the same thing every day for years at this point. Why am I not even close to burnout? Why am I sort of like a child when I go play solo queue? Really interesting, right? Because I have many clients that feel burnt out after a couple of months. That's the losing the fun and regressing, right?
Yeah. Losing the fun, meaning, yeah, losing sight of your goals, but yeah, fun. You're going to get burnout if you're not having fun. And there's many ways to have fun though. That's the thing. There is no formula to having fun. Fun can come from meta, following the meta. It could come from having a large champion pool. It could come from you like having a very small champion pool and pursuing in-depth mastery with particular champions. Fun is just subjective. It depends on what you like. And I think this really should start a conversation. The reason I want to talk about this is people out there need to genuinely think about what they love about League. What aspect of it? What gets you excited when you think about getting onto the Rift? What gets you excited? Now, that doesn't mean every little thing you're going to do is going to be an absolute blast, right? You're going to have to put in the reps. There's going to be some shitty situations. But again, that's where the curiosity comes in. Because like if I want that, and I want to experience this, and I'm not experiencing it, then that's where the curiosity kicks in, and the curiosity fuels you to get to the next level. I just thought that was really interesting, that his teacher came to the same conclusion as what we've kind of realized as well with League.
Very interesting overlap.
Okay, now one last thing I do want to talk about before I don't want to steal the podcast here is okay, so we did an episode with Kenny Werner. Remember the Kenny Werner episode? We went through that video, the jazz musician, and he spoke about when you play something well, you play a piece, and he said you take your hands off the piano or the keyboard, right? And then and that allows you to kind of physically and mentally reset, and then you get back into it. It's like kind of like a physical act of refreshing. And what I've noticed in my solo queue, so I play, and then I get off the computer or whatever, and then I look at the review if I do, and then it feels like I'm in queue, and I'm on my computer, I'm in queue, and then like I'm talking to people in Discord and like whatever. And then the queue pops, and I'm selecting my champion, and I'm still on the computer. I'm on the computer during this whole time, right? Like it's queue time, pops, select champion, loading screen, on the Rift. This whole time, I'm thinking too much. I'm up here too much, right? I'm way too much of it, especially because I'm looking at the draft in the champ select. I'm looking at the draft and in the game, the champion's in the loading screen.
And sometimes the loading screen goes for a long time. So you're sitting there, you're like...
And then and then what's the first thing you do when I press tab? I'm looking at tab. What do they got? And I'm going through this whole thing. And now what I've done, I click level 1 to where I want to go, because you got to do that. From level 1, you got to focus. Then once I know nothing's going to happen level 1, I'll literally take my hands off the keyboard and I'll look away from my screen. Right now, like I'm next to a window, so I'll kind of look outside and I'll touch my desk and I'll just shake my hands. I'll just do something that completely detaches me from my screen and the game.
It's like 5 seconds or so.
Yeah, a few seconds. Boom, put my hands, minions are coming in, and then I'm in. And it allows me to really enter this childlike free flow state without being up here. Because I've realized for me, when I'm up here too much, I overthink shit and I'm not free flow. I can't access that free flow state. So I've really been testing things. Another thing I've been testing as well is I alt tab and I have a playlist. I'll play it just for like 15 seconds or something as like the minions are coming, and it just gets me into this really excited, joyful, fun, childlike state again. And I found that to be quite nice. And again, when I start the game like this, I kind of enter this state and I'm just having a blast. And
even you describing that right now, I feel like I could visualize myself like resetting and like, because it's like, oh, cool. What's that? It's interesting outside. Now I'm in the game. Let's go. And then
there's no time to think
and
too
then
much.
All the intuition now is, getting activated. And it's like, all right, playing lane phase. Here's the couple of minions. All right, I'm hitting my camps. I'm looking at lanes, who's warded, who's...
Because you already know this stuff. This stuff is muscle memory anyway. Like, you don't need to overthink it.
We have a lot of muscle memory, especially more experienced players. Like, yeah, people have a shit ton of muscle memory. Again, sometimes bad habits of the muscle memory, but like, ingrained how to play League of Legends, what it feels like. People definitely maybe... don't think that.
That is the one of my main learnings of this year as a coach is respecting the beauty of muscle memory. We have most league players have an unbelievable amount of untapped free flow and
just because of the nature of how many games they played.
Intuition, just raw games, thousands of games. So that's something I've been experimenting with, and I want to ask you a question with your Saltu clients. When you set them learning objectives, do you think of... Walk me through some learning objectives that you would give your clients. Give me a wide variety. Give me maybe a high elo one. Give me a lower elo one. Just bombard me here. Give me some learning objectives. What are some examples?
All right, let's try and remember some. Volley bear, holding Q, anticipating flashes in ganks.
Okay.
Jungle tracking for the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
In mid-game, playing around mid-priority, getting to the next wave first.
Okay.
Identifying the strongest member of your team.
Okay.
In the mid-game and playing around them.
Yep. Give me one more.
Did I already say jungle tracking for the first 5 minutes?
Putting you on the spot here.
Jungle tracking is so goddamn
Right, jungle
annoying.
tracking for round 2. Okay, we do it 2 times.
No, let me come up with another one. Come on, there's another one. When you're laner, so go towards your laners that are low HP. Just like identify that on the map and just run there and just go there and see what happens.
Okay. My next question.
And looking for dive execution.
Okay, there's a lot here. Great.
I have a Warwick player in Saltu, Nick, and we literally have just been like, when you get old, you're going to think about the highest impact dive you can only make in these games.
Love it. When you set these, do you ever talk about how to execute on them? How to genuinely like how do I use it? Say I'm a client and I'm in the Saltu, and I say, Nathan, sir, I'm sorry to bother you, sir. I know you're really busy with your solo queue, sir, but how do I use this learning objective? How do I execute upon this learning objective, sir? What would you say?
What's the benefit of that learning objective?
No.
Okay.
Like, how do I use this learning objective? Like, specifically.
How do I specifically use this?
Yeah.
All right. So again, I'm going to bring it down.
Let's just pick one of them. Let's say the one where you play around mid prio. That one.
Okay. So you use that to get control of.
No. You're misinterpreting my question. How do I use the learning objective? I get it. I get the point of it. I get what it does. I know the importance of mid prio. I know why it's useful.
Yeah. You mean, how do you like practically apply it into my next game?
That's correct. How do I practically apply this?
Well, I say you got to look for these. This is what I want you to be focused on looking for. Like, let's say you have like a post-it note on your thing. It's like, this is what I'm focusing on looking for.
So this is in-game?
In-game, yeah.
Okay.
But like, they've got to have to think about that before the game so they know what to focus on. And in general, let's say they've done a couple of reviews of that and they just know that that's what they're
So we're doing it before game,
so they're looking for
in-game, and after game.
And then after the game, yeah, in the review.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one, great. Okay, I want to be very clear.
Okay.
Charles, how is this guy's laugh? And so, okay, the reason I'm asking you these questions is I've been going deep on learning objectives and how the learning genuinely works in League. Now, we've been praising and, and talking a lot about muscle memory and intuition, right? And we believe that the game is mainly played with muscle memory and intuition, right? It's 80-20?
Oh, the other thing I say, okay, now you just springed it, right?
Okay.
It's because of the build muscle memory. I need you to fuck this up a lot.
Okay.
Oh, invade execution as well, specifically one. So I'm like, I need you to practice a lot of these situations and I need you to fail a lot. That's how I say the way you have to practically learn it as well.
Yep. Okay. So let's reiterate what you said. You said, maybe write a post-it note, put it on your desk or your monitor, think about it heading into the game, think about it in the game, fuck it up a lot. In the post-game, look at it as well. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Now, when it comes to learning objectives, I believe there only is such thing as an in-game and an out-of-game, right? You're either thinking about it, it's taking up bandwidth in your mental stack in the game, or it's not, right? It's you're either thinking about it or you're not. There's no in between, right? In the out-of-game, there is either you're looking for that or you're not. Okay. Now, so what I do when I give learning objectives, and I love to, this is what I want to tell you what I do and then get your thoughts on this comparatively to what you do. I will say, okay, I'm going to set you maybe one in-game learning objective and one out of game or two out of game, right? Now, I've now realized that this is my level up as a coach. When it comes to in-game learning objectives, I believe they're fundamentally flawed. And I very rarely set in-game learning objectives anymore because, hear me out. Let's say I take any one of your learning objectives. Let's say I say, I want you to think about when your bot lane is low in game. And I want you to think about in-game. If someone's thinking about that, they're not playing free flow. They're going to fuck up everything else. The game is automatically it's just distorted and it's not their level of play and they're actually playing worse and it turns into an absolute shit show because now you don't know what mistakes are genuinely mistakes or it just confuses the entire thing. I only give in-game learning objectives that are specifically done either in the first 2 minutes of the game, like identifying jungle tracking where they're starting first camp, or in lull states, because these are moments where you can genuinely think. So the examples of those would be identifying win con in lull states, thinking about key threats in lull states, identifying winning side in lull states, only in lull states, because I don't want to interrupt the whatever is happening in between that, right? Now, for everything else, say most of what you said, I actually think most of it is in the post game. You're learning, and this is the way I view learning now in League, is let's say you got a client and you've really explained to him in that session the importance of going to that side that's low and just going there to counter gank, whatever the fuck it is, right?
Just be there.
Right? In the post game, he has that. He knows that that's a concept that he spoke about with you, right? So in the review, you tell him to look for that. Look for those moments where the side laners were low, and you either were there and we see what happened. We review that, or you weren't there and you missed an opportunity to do that. So then what happens? You have what happened in reality, and then you have what could have happened or what should have happened, and then all you're doing is you're consolidating the learning. You know, like when you're doing accounting. And it's like you're consolidating the transaction or whatever. It's like there's like this event, and this is what could have, should have happened, and there's a learning there, and you're just in your mind, you're mentally joining them together, and then that's the learning that's done in the post game. Then you do it again, and then you're
saying that slowly builds a muscle memory.
That slowly builds a muscle memory because these skills, they're actually not like hard skills. They're actually things that you need to be directly embedded into the muscle memory, into subconscious, into intuition. And if you interrupt the intuition and the muscle memory and the free flow in the game, it just complicates the whole thing. And this is why I've realized clients with me, they've said to me, Curtis, I'm getting worse. The reason they're getting worse is because I'm giving them learning objectives because their mental stack is too fucked up.
Because they're thinking in the game.
They're thinking too much when they need to be feeling and executing.
And they have to think after the game.
And that's the learning. It's like that's why I like the term consolidation. You're consolidating the learning in the review. But the learning objectives are very important. But it's important you specify: is it in game or is it out of game? And for me, my person, and I don't even know if this is correct. This is my theory. I've just really been thinking about this. And again, reflecting on clients that have had success and not success. I know Grinder is one that he actually was hard stuck. Like he got worse. He went all the way to diamond something. And then he said, all right, I'm not doing any learning objectives, and went straight back up to like master 100 LP. Just like that. Just removing the in-game learning objectives. He's like, I don't want to think in the game anymore. And so maybe it is possible. Maybe you can overwhelm the mental stack. But I feel like with League, there is so many complications, and I don't even believe anyone's even mentally...
Because there's so much that's happening. There's so much that can go wrong. Your learning objective
complicates your learning journey.
In-game learning objective might not even pop up that game at all.
Yeah, and you're thinking about it, and then you're playing worse, and it's just... You don't even know where your level's at anymore. That's my point. You don't even know where your level is at if you're overwhelming your mental stat, because you'll mess up things that you shouldn't be messing up anymore. And then it puts everything into question. It's like, well, I never make this mistake and I just made it. Now, where does that mean I am? I don't even want to focus on this anymore because I'm making these other mistakes. And that's the most common complaint I've had, is that people will say, Curtis, I worked on this and you told me to focus on something else, and now I'm making that mistake that I was making before. Because again, they're overwhelming their mental stack. So what are your thoughts on this?
So my initial thoughts is that you're saying that the only way someone's going to improve at League is by reviewing a lot.
That's correct. Well,
so then how does that work for players that never review?
No. Let's be very clear here. Reviewing speeds up the learning process.
Okay.
You can still have these learnings by being curious and having fun. Let's think about the average player that we know, like an old school pro player that got very good at the game. Let's just say like a faker or something, right?
Yeah.
What they're able to do, and this is what I believe talent, not people, I guess, conflate this with talent, is they have a negative experience and they're consolidating it like in the moment.
In the moment, yeah.
Like, while they're
and
dead,
their memory's very good.
Their memory's they're very good at pattern recognition. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I died here. I didn't think they automatically. Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
That's learning.
Yeah.
That's the muscle memory.
They've like
Boom.
reviewed it in the game.
They've
right at that
review it
moment.
as they're going.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do that now in my games as
That's
well.
right.
I do that, yeah.
Your learning now, I guarantee you, is most of it is actually not just setting a raw learning objective and then
okay.
you're like not overwhelming your mental stack and being like,
I think that part's really important, by the way, because I think about, you think about like, the quote unquote, the more toxic players and stuff like that, right? They struggle so much because once a mistake happens, what's their first reaction? It depends on your reaction. Their reaction is, how can I blame instantly versus how did I fuck that up?
Yeah.
That's incredibly, I actually think
you're ruining the learning there.
I reckon the learning in the game in the moments, I actually think that's actually better than the reviews, like an extra speed up.
Well, you should put your mic close to your mouth.
No one can hear me.
But yeah,
you see what I'm
spot
saying?
on.
It's very important.
I would say most of our learning is actually in-game.
Yeah.
That's correct.
By you reviewing in-game.
What this whole process that we do is, it's actually just speeding up the process. It's like adding a speed boost on top of it.
Yeah, that's like an extra speed boost. That's what I like to say. Yeah,
that's correct.
If I was to put percentage of it, I'd probably say the in-game initial, like straight up, like review the moment in your head. Would you say 75% and review 25%?
I think it scales.
It scales. It probably depends.
It scales up depending on how well you know the game.
Yeah.
So like the higher level you are, the more learning that will happen in the game.
No, in the review.
No, I'm saying the other way around, because I think for the people that are really high level and know a lot about the game, they're able to instantly identify like, oh, I just fucked up. I missed that skill shot. Like they just know. But like when you're lower, everything's confusing. And so you can't make huge judgments over like what the mistake was. So you have to like go into the review and like get into the details. That's what I think.
All right, so put a percent for low for new player to the game, like climbing up to like from bronze, silver, gold, learning.
Well, maybe it's actually maybe you're right. Maybe it's a crabbler. Maybe it goes like that.
Oh,
so it's like it starts out high, like you learn a lot because it's just really basic stuff. It's like I just ran under the tower and died.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that. Don't do that.
I didn't know what this champion ability does.
I just ran into a Morgana bind and she killed me.
Yeah.
And then then that stuff drops off. Then it gets a little bit more complicated.
Yep. And
then I think down that, so it's like if we go down the valley into the bottom, that's where I think you're in like gold, plat, diamond 4, all there. Be gold to diamond essentially. That's where it's a little bit less clear, it gets to the bottom. I think the hardest would be like plat. Like that you're at the bottom of that valley in like mid plat. And then you get to diamond, maybe you get more intuitive learning, get better at intuitive learning in game. And then 2, you get to like master plus, GM plus. Your basic, I'd say majority of your learning as like a GM plus player is actually in-game intuitive, just like boom, boom, boom. I already know what's happening. Think about your games, Nathan. You already know, boom. You just look at like one thing in the review, like, oh, yeah, like anything, most of the game, you already know what the hell happened.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. It's a U shape.
I'm just spitballing here, dude.
Spitballing.
So these are just things I've been thinking about.
That's very interesting exploration.
So
the in-game straight up learnings, that's incredibly important. Again, in the nature of a game like League of Legends where there's so much is happening and there's so much straight up feedback all the time because you like die and stuff like that.
So I want you to think about your in-game and out-game learning objectives. Just really think about that and try shit so then you can report back to me.
Yep.
And then we can join up and see what our findings are. Because that's what I'm really trying right now, and so far it's looking good.
Very interesting exploration. Yep, that's lots for me to think about. All right, so speaking of journey, this U shape here now, I have a Saltu member who's he was diamond for a long time this season, diamond 1 and stuff like that. And now he's master. And he sent me a message saying like, I've got like, some issues, like, I don't really know what's going on. Like, I just can't play well. These past couple week, like, I haven't been able to have high intensity, and he's not even tilted, right? So that's the key one. He's not even tilted. He's not self-sabotaging. And so I want to get your thoughts on this, right? Also, I'll talk about the way I framed this to him. All right, so especially in OS, right? So let's just think about in terms of the journey. Like when you're master in OS, aren't you like top 1,000 players? It's like top 800 or 500 or something.
I haven't looked at the numbers, man. So
okay, well, it's definitely lower than 1,000, right? And then Grandmaster is top 150 players. And then Challenger is top 50 players, okay? in the grand scheme of journey, right? Like where you're at, like if you're a master tier in OS and you've just like recently hit it and you're sort of climbing through it, you know, that's actually just your level of play. Like, you know, like it's not actually, you know, it's sort of like saying it's like expecting like, oh, it's just going to be like up. Like suddenly I understand the game pace of a Grandmaster game, or I suddenly know how to play because he just hasn't played in that, right? So what I think that especially the higher level players is that they conflate again, like not intensity and like not playing well with just that's actually just their level of play, and they need to be like just be comfortable with that. It's like, okay, I just don't have much experience with this. Like I'm working on these type of things in my gameplay, and sort of just relax instead of trying to find, because especially as humans, what we do, we like to try and make a reason and make sense of things. It's like, so then he will be like, oh, I'm not climbing to Grandmaster because I am playing bad. Right? Like he's like trying to, but versus it's like, you know, that's pointless. It's like you're getting it more specific and get into the details. It's like, you know, that's his level of play. Like he's missing some things. He's been really aggressive for no reason when his team's in base, you know, like really basic gameplay things. And I also explained to him as well is that, you know, challenger players and streamers, because the game and just the league community in general, it's very influenced by, you know, the top streamers, right? And most of them are, you know, pretty high elo players, right? People like watching challenger players, right? These people just trick you so easily, thinking it's just so easy to get to challenger. Or like, you know how you chew into a game, right? And this guy's like saying, this guy sucks, right? And then everyone's like, yeah, how's he challenger and stuff like that, you know? And then you sort of like, that's an extra element that sort of beats you up a little bit. It's like, you know, this guy sucks. Like, why am I struggling in platinum? You know, like I could do what he does, but that's a trick. That's completely, because he's doing that challenger player, even though he might look bad in that moment, he's consistently doing way better things and all that sort of stuff, right? And I feel like that players get very tricked, really influenced really easily. What do you think about this, Curtis?
There's a lot going on in this question. I think, okay, so the first thing...
So the two parts is understanding that's just his level of play. There's no actual grand scheme. It's just this really simple, this is just where his current skill is and he needs to improve on that skill.
Okay, so yeah, let's touch on that bit first.
And then the second bit's the influence and getting tricked about, it's like beating yourself up.
Okay, let's start with the first bit.
Yeah.
The first bit, what people really struggle to understand, I want to talk about a podcast I'm listening to recently with Daniel Negreanu, Lex Friedman and Daniel Negreanu, who's a poker player. And I love listening to poker players talk because there's a lot of similarities.
Psychology is really important in poker.
Even just the raw dynamic of poker.
Yeah.
Okay, so poker and league share a very similar trait that is rare amongst every other sport, is that you can play well and you can genuinely still lose. Okay? So if that's a fact, right? If you are playing optimal poker and you're playing optimal League of Legends,
like you're doing the percentages in terms of your hands, and like you know what's come out, and you know what like they're most likely to have. So this is the way I'll play the flop or the, you know, the next.
That's right.
Card, whatever it is.
The river. Yeah. That's right. You can still lose. And what he was saying is that he says in poker as well, what people really struggle to wrestle with, and what makes poker so difficult is that you can play well and still lose. Okay. So if we were to kind of follow that statement and we kind of extrapolate that, therefore, climbing and winning in poker comes from consistency. Consistency is the number one factor of climbing in League of Legends.
So he messaged me that after a streak of 4 days.
Think about the sample size. The sample size is so goddamn small. And so the reason I love about this podcast, right, Daniel Negreanu spoke about how he lost $1.1 million over 48 days, right? And then he was talking about he just genuinely got unlucky and these very, like he like ran the numbers, like we looked at it, like he made the right calls. But the what's the one? The river at the end? Is that the river? Is it the turn then the river? Or
Pretty sure river's last.
I think the river's last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a turn and then the river. Yeah. Anyway, the river and he just got unlucky. Like it was like he had by far the better hand, and he lost like $550,000 on like this one hand, and that would have changed his whole dynamic of his competition, and he would have done really well, right? And he was saying that, like, you know, the thing is it's not really about that one hand. It's about how you let that one hand affect the rest of your competition or your journey as a player, right? And I think people need to really understand that it's about consistency. So your client, right? He might play well one game. He might even make one great play in a game. But the difference between you and him is not the first clear. It's not even the gank. It's not that one gank or that second gank. It's the skirmish at 18 minutes in the river where you tunnel perfectly, or you dodge that Morgana bind and you get the kill and he doesn't, or he gives that shutdown, you don't. That's the difference. And you repeat that over hundreds of games. The reason you're ranked 20 and he's D1 or Master is because of the small, minute details that bring about consistency. And so when I work with master clients now, I always try to push the narrative. Okay, the difference between me and you is not the major stuff, right? We've got the similar hands. We can hit the same skill shots, hit the same CS. We probably know the matchups. But I'm not going to make this mistake. You are. I'm not going to die to that level 3 gank ever, and you are. I'm going to really...
Well, he might not some games, but like 3 games, he's like done it.
That's right. Or I'm going to play this skirmish better. Like when I think about even in the MLA right now, I've got a Chirp is in the MLA, right? And he's like top 10, or he was like really high elo in OS, right? He's better than me because his skirmishing is way more consistent. Mm-hmm. I will mess up my flash or mess up a skill shot. He won't. That's the difference. So what do I need to do? I need to get more games in and get more consistent with my skill shots or my skirmishing, put myself in more situations. So your client, he needs to put himself in way more situations, especially when you're first time master. You got to get more familiar with the pace of the games. You're going to be in some high elo lobbies, and the laners are better. They'll play skirmishes differently. That's why it's not about the one play. Anyone can make that one play. Anyone can make that second play, that third play. It's that fourth play, it's that fifth play. It's that you're never going to mess up your positioning in that 25-minute dragon fight. They are. They'll get overwhelmed. They don't know what to do in this situation. You've just been in more situations and you've really thought about it. So that's what I would really say. Just consistency.
In general, he's not a consistent player at all.
That's it.
There's so much volatility in his gameplay if we're watching his reviews.
Well, that's the answer, right? And how do you get consistency? Good quality reviews, a lot of games, good process, put yourself in a lot of situations, be honest with yourself, be objective about your play, and drop your ego, be curious, have fun, all that stuff, right? Now, the second thing was you get tricked by like streamers and stuff, and they're saying like how, or repeat the question, was there something around the challenger streamer says, oh, that player's so bad, and everyone dogpiles on that person. They say, wow, how are they even challenger? Yeah, like you can't extrapolate. It ties into the first point. You can't extrapolate from one play. You lost me a game recently where you invaded his volley into the Heck Room, gave Heck Room an early kill, and the game was over. And you could, if that was on stream and I'm streaming in front of 1,000 people and then everyone, what the hell, Nathan bot. You know, how is that guy ranked 20? That's one game. You don't do that mistake. Like out of all the games we play together, I've very, very, very rarely seen you make a mistake like that. I was surprised to see you make that mistake.
Yeah.
But that's why you're high elo. You don't make that mistake often, right? So again, you can say that about anything and anyone as well, right? Like everyone makes mistakes. Oh, I love this quote. Daniel Negreanu also said, he says, everyone makes mistakes because games like chess, poker, and even League, they're so hard. Everyone makes mistakes. We're not computers. But the quality of the mistakes, like the type of the mistakes and the extent of the mistakes are way less. So he actually used the analogy of golf, right? Where like the difference between like the best golfers and then the average of golfers is that the best golfers, like they won't get the hole in one, but they'll be near it. But the person that's inconsistent,
it's not even close.
They won't even get onto the green. You know, it's like that's the difference. They're both mistakes theoretically, but one mistake is way less extent, and that's why they're good.
It's like where you talk about the quality of deaths actually dictates where you're probably going to end up on the ladder.
Yes, the quality of your death give you a lot of information. What a beautiful segue, Nathan. Remind me of something that I also want to talk about. Steven Ada, one of the other coaches / clients in the MLA, he was in a slump. And so what did he do to get out of a slump? He created this thing called death tracing. So basically what it was is that you create a spreadsheet and you segment them into like categories. So death from a skirmish, death from a gank, death from a compensation kill, whatever it might be. and then you tally them up, do all your reviews, tally them up, and then it will tell you where your deaths are coming from. And then he used that to kind of pinpoint where he was going wrong, and it gave him much more clarity in his journey, and it got him out of the slump. And a lot of people have been using it. A few people have been using it in the MLA to great success. And it's a very good pragmatic tool. If you're ever in a rut, if you're feeling shit, do the death tracing, look over your past 20 games, do the exercise.
That's cool. What were...
Oh, really?
What were the... So obviously he's trying to find a trend with his death, the tracing.
You just tally it up, you see some interesting stuff.
What do we sort of stuff?
Well, I can't remember his, but I remember another client's. I remember...
What would the categories be? Like level, like lane phase solo kill, getting ganked.
Yeah, so solo
getting
kill.
Getting caught inside lane.
There was solo kill, getting ganked, compensation, team fights, deaths, getting picked in the side, things like that. And Sen, one of the other guys, he's like a gold client. I think his was compensation, just compensation deaths.
Compensation deaths are very common.
It was compensation and tower dives. And he's a Rumble mid player and Corky. And I'm like, so he plays Rumble mid. I'm like, it was by far the most of them were tower dive deaths. And
so he was like trading one for one.
If we just remove these, let's just start by removing these, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, death categories. That's very interesting.
It's a very pragmatic tool.
Yeah.
And we've got an article in the MLA about that.
I love it.
Very good. Shout out Stevenator, Steve-O.
Awesome.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No.
Let me just double check my notes here. Okay, I just got to do this because Cupcake, shout out Cupcake. We had him on a few episodes ago. He spoke about his ace mentality. Right? He introduced that ace mentality. Now, I tried it myself. So to recap, what the ACE thing is, it's like an acronym for acknowledge the best play, communicate the best play, and then embrace reality. It is a beautiful framework. I've been using it in my coaching and it is so good at pinpointing where people are failing. Are they failing in acknowledging the best play? Are they breaking down in the communication of the best play? Are they breaking down in just not accepting reality, not embracing reality and adapting to the chaos? It's just beautiful. Go to any skirmish or any situation.
You can tell where it fell apart.
It's just a really clean way of bringing it back to where are they failing?
Which one, A, C, or E, do you find the most, or is it all even?
I would say C and E.
So people really fail to communicate it.
People think this is what I've noticed. People think they communicate well when in reality it's dog shit.
They don't. They're
in the game because they don't remember that. I'm like, and they're like, oh yeah, I pinged. And then you look at it and they do like one back ping.
Yeah.
Or it's like, dude, or they do it way too late. You know? And I'm like, if you really thought this was the best play, then put your money where your mouth is and call it 45 seconds in advance.
People are scared to commit sometimes because they know that guess what's happened if that goes wrong, who's the first person to blame? You're the person to blame.
And it's there in text. It's there.
That's right.
This guy pinged it,
And it's in the chat. You can see it. But in one little ping, it's like, oh, that could have been anything.
Yeah, exactly. You're hidden. The blue ping as well. It's like the blue ping. It's like it's anonymity.
I'm going to hide.
Yeah, so I would say that and embracing, not adapting to chaos.
So you're telling me that people generally know the play, it's just they just struggle.
Yeah, I would say more often than
across all range of your clients, gold, platinum.
Yeah, I would say most people, maybe because they've just consumed so much content. Like most people know it, but they just don't execute.
That's what people do.
League's a game of execution.
It is
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whether they knew it in the moment or not, but like they know it now. Yeah, but I don't know. That's just what I've noticed. C and E. Yeah.
Great.
Mailbag.
All right, let's jump into mailbag. Away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. All right, first question here is from Philipe from the MLA.
Good old Philipe from the book club.
From the book club as well. Title of this email is Afraid of Being a Loser. Hello, Curtis, Nathan, and Charlie. So rude no one says hello to Charlie, considering he's been there since episode 100. It's me, Philipe from MLA. I've been experiencing a different kind of fear of failure. It's not a fear that prevents me from playing solo queue or a fear that I won't keep my rank. It's this new fear that if I'm not fully invested into what I do and succeed, I am a loser. I started with Goggins' book about how he loves uncomfortable situations since it forces him to grow, and how if you're breezing through your day, you are not tapping into your full potential. It continued when I read Tim Grover's Winning and got obsessed with the idea of optimizing life to win. I've optimized gym and got a personal trainer. I'm counting cooking and meal prepping my food. It even extends to healthy habits like my desire to always learn how to dance. I finally bought dancing lessons and I'm going out with friends to dance with strangers for fun. I work overtime and listen to books. Seems pretty good, yeah? However, all that stuff is secondary to LOL, and that's where it's affected me most. I remember a specific day when I went out to watch my father perform a song in front of an audience of people, and because it was windy and the mic and stuff wasn't set up properly, you couldn't hear his voice well and the guitar was abnormally loud. I looked around and saw no one was really paying attention to him in the crowd, just my family recording him. When he finished, my family went to him and told him he did great, and he took it gracefully and said thanks, but after reading Goggins and listening to Michael Jordan and Kobe and researching Michael Schumacher, the F1 driver, all I can think was how my dad lost and therefore is a loser. It hurts to type that because I love my dad and he definitely isn't a loser in other parts of life. He provides for my family and has taught me lots, but watching him lose at his singing passion just sucked. Then I played a block of LOL, and in the first 3 minutes, my dad kept talking to me about picking up my siblings, and since I wasn't paying attention to the game, I died 3 times. I was already on a massive loss streak, so I completely snapped and yelled at my family for not leaving me alone when I was trying to improve. After I calmed down and fully explained the broken by concept approach to improvement, they said it was a nice concept, but my relationship with improvement is toxic if it's causing me fear and pain. I'm desperately afraid of being a loser like my dad in that situation after investing in something for so long in some weird Cain and Abel way. It's weird. I have supreme confidence I can hit my goals, but I'm afraid it won't come fast enough. I'm afraid I won't be the best possible version of myself in an unhealthy way, and it's leading to unhealthy consequences. Do you guys have experience with this feeling? Thanks.
So, all right, I'm gonna say something that I don't really know how to. This is just personal. I think we might differ on this slightly, and I know Charlie, we've spoken about this before. Basically, so when we went to high school together, Nathan, you were inspired and shaped largely, I would say, less so from your parents and more so from people you saw on the internet.
Studied.
Right? So you were very early on from when I first met you, you were already in another world and you've discovered these people like at the time, like Gary Vaynerchuk and like you got like hooked on this mentality. Like I think where it all started for you, you said was these are very successful people and then here I am and this is like my family and people I know. Like why are they there and why are those people here? And you kind of set out on your own personal mission, right? To kind of discover why. And so you studied, right? You just watched all this content and just learnt and absorbed and listened, right? And when I met you, you introduced me to this world of entrepreneurship and even like self-improvement and stuff like that. I think you were kind of one of the first catalysts for that. And I followed you. I just followed your path, right? As that, you know, that entrepreneur thing. And then that was like really sexy. And like, I was just and looking at you and how happy and content you were. I'm like, Nathan has it solved, you know? Nathan's got it.
He's worked it out.
Nathan's worked it out, right? He's so ahead of the meta at IRL, right? And so I kind of followed Nathan. And then, so me and Nathan went through this rabbit hole down Direwolves, and Nathan started Direwolves and he did the whole thing.
That was the entrepreneurship phase, hustle culture, building, social media, all that sort of stuff.
Right. And we were both kind of absorbed in that, right? And we used to both love Gary Vee. I mean, actually, I don't want to speak for you because you might still, but at least for me, I mean, at that time we both did, right? And for me, over those years, 2017, 2018, 2019.
Well, I think it was a bit different because so I was big on the whole entrepreneurship stuff, and I was fascinated and understanding and learning that. And there's, not just Gary Vee, there was many other people that I was learning from. And then, you went down the high performance rabbit hole of coaches, studying coaching. Right. You're a coach. You learn to be a coach.
Yeah, we had you came more the business people, and I was more the coaches. People. That's right. And then we kind of met in the middle.
Yeah,
that's right. And you shared those, and I shared mine.
That's right.
Met in the middle. That's right. And along what I failed to realize is that there is a very dangerous aspect to this culture of just self-improvement. Right. And embedded, if you actually really think about self-improvement, there are two ways to, and we spoke about this a few episodes ago. There's two ways you can really view it, right? You can view, okay, I am okay with myself and I just want to better myself. Like I want to evolve, but I'm still okay with myself and I still love myself and respect myself and I just want to better myself. That's fine. But if you say to yourself, I'm not okay and I don't actually love myself or respect myself, I don't think I'm good enough, and
I'm not the best version of myself. I think that statement of best version of myself, it's so open to interpretation. Theoretically, there's always more you could be doing, and then you beat yourself up because you're not doing that.
That's correct.
So I think that's where it gets really dangerous because, Philipe says he's doing all these things.
That's right.
That's way more than most people doing. I don't know how young you feel like Philipe is, and I
guess like 21 or something.
I'm sort of, 20. Maybe doing a bit of a comparison here, but, he's still afraid of being a loser. That's really strange to me, isn't it?
But the reason why, I believe, is that he's bought into what we bought into.
Yeah.
We bought into this narrative where it's like, if you're not first, you're last. Work, grind, hustle, grind. And then everything is, I'm not good enough. And there is always something more, and there's always something better I could be doing. And so your mind then goes from, rather than enjoying the present moment, to just, how can I be the most efficient with my time in every second of every day? And if I'm not learning and growing and evolving and getting better and better and better, then I'm losing and someone else is beating me.
And the speed thing and the time, he's very scared of time. He says he's not doing it fast enough.
That's right. And it's all this toxic, this is what I believe, this is the dark side of self-improvement. This is the dark side of self-help, essentially, right? And I think there are a lot of benefits to self-help. Essentially what the BBC is, in a way, is it's a combination of self-help and self-improvement through league, right?
That's right.
And so I think self-improvement and bettering yourself is an integral part of living a happy life, I believe, right? But there's a dark side to it. And I think with Philipe, he's gone over the edge by the sounds of things. He's gone into that dark loophole where it's like efficiency, better. And he hasn't taken time to just be like, okay, just take stock of the situation and really appreciate what you're doing now and be more present in the moment. And life is not about being efficient 24/7 hours, 24 hours a day. It's just not. That's just, again,
some people can operate that way.
Some people can operate that. And again, let me rephrase that. I don't want to extrapolate. This is just my experience in this whole thing and what I've been down that route. I was the exact same in like I said, those years, 2017, 2018, 2019. And I don't think I was a good friend to people around me. I don't think I was a good person. I think I hurt a lot of people during that period of time. I think I hurt myself. And yes, I might have done some great work, but I think I could have also done great work while having a better relationship with myself and being a better human. So I think what the advice I would give myself in 2017, and which is kind of what I'm saying to Philipe here, would be, you need to really relax a little bit more and remember that life isn't just one game of self-improvement. It's not just, because it's all, like you said, it's all just subjective. Like there's always something theoretically that you could be doing better. Take a chill pill and focus your energy Like I think it's about. I think he's broadened himself way too much, and like
he listed like all these things, and then he said, "But that's secondary to league."
And I know
that's
Philipe,
so much
by the way,
already.
he's like really good at karate. He's like elite level karate.
So he's
as
doing
well.
martial arts. He's doing gym. He's doing dancing. And he's got a personal trainer league,
and then he studies. I mean, he does like a trillion things. Like, how can you're not going to be amazing at any one of them because you're stretched so thin. So focus. You know, we all have a limited time and energy. You need time to enjoy the present and enjoy your life in a way while also bettering yourself. And I don't like the word balance. You know, I really don't. But in a way, it's true. There is an element of balance. You need balance. But I would say it needs to come out of self-love and respect and love of others around you, with your friends and your family, and being a better son, being a better friend, being a better person to yourself. That's where it must come from. And so what it sounds like actually, and why I resonate a lot with this is when I was at the time, I was deeply insecure. And my insecurity, that's what fueled my go mentality. Because in my mind, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy of self-love, respect from others, etc. I wanted to, my ego was pushing me to get the acclaim or respect of others. It wanted to be this and that and that. I wanted to appear a certain way from the outside. I wanted to appear cool. And I let that dictate a lot of my decisions at that time, especially in my coaching, when it was just ego. So I think Philipe deep down, I mean, again, this is a very hard thing to say. I don't know him that well. It's insecurity fueling it. So he's gone down that rabbit hole. What do you think, Nathan?
Going back to that, I think that North Star, you know, of just saying that, like, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. It just doesn't mean anything to me in a way. It's more like, this is what I'm, again, where you say, this is where I'm putting my attention. I want to get good at this. And then, it depends. So let's say if we're looking at someone like Michael Jordan or Kobe, who we mentioned, they made sacrifices, like, just straight up, because they like, then there's levels that it's like, I'm going to be like a psychopath towards this goal, right? So, and that's hard, like Philipe, like, are you going to be a psychopath towards that goal? Like, that's a conversation.
And Kobe even says in his interviews, he wasn't a good husband and a great dad.
Yep. And he destroyed relationships and he had to rebuild them.
Same as Michael Jordan.
That's the sacrifice that you make when you want to be the greatest of all time.
But that's a 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
Yes.
That's like very, very few. And you can be that. What you got to think about who you want to be and what you want to do. But I believe that, like, it shouldn't be pushed on everyone to be like that, because that's an anomaly. That's a huge outlier. Not everyone is going to be a Jeff Bezos or a Michael Jordan or whatever. It's just a very, 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 very unique situation. And you got to, just like Nathan said, and I would say it's less about what you do. It's how you are. Like, it's like, what sort of person do you want to be from a values perspective? What sort of friend do you want to be? What sort of son do you want to be? What sort of, anything? What sort of league player do you want to be? I mean, and like, prioritize, stretch way too thin.
Prioritize, have your goals and have a crack.
Have a crack.
Have a crack, man.
Yes.
You'll be surprised. Like, you don't actually, I started going down to the books of, there was like a really good one of like Small Giants and stuff like that. You'll be surprised how much amazing things people are doing out there in the world with like not that much time invested, or like not having this crazy, like, I'm going to be the biggest and the best, like just doing like awesome stuff. Like a huge one is like Derek Sivers. He's awesome. And he's this really humble guy, does his thing, like writes. He made like an awesome company, but he didn't have that mindset. He just made a useful product that was really cool.
What we got inspired by, what we love about the Saltu and the MLA and the BBC is that we're not the biggest, the best, the greatest, but we're very happy and proud of our work. We get to work more closely with our clients. We get to be really obsessed about one thing. You're only doing jungle coaching. I'm only doing mid lane coaching. I'm not doing a trillion things in my life right now. The only things we do really is gym, coaching, and then the podcast.
That's right.
I don't have, at the moment, we have no other hobbies.
Yeah.
Right? So that's it, right? And the way we structured our business was to be like that as well. It's like, okay, we're going to be very niche, but very good at what we do. Our communities are relatively small.
And very small.
Less than 500 people. So we're not the biggest streamers out there. No, we're not the biggest, the greatest, the best, but we do good work and we're happy with our work. And I don't work like an absolute maniac to get those, and I can do amazing work. Yeah. But we've made sacrifices. We make sacrifices, right? We don't have colleagues. I don't have colleagues. We have to work by ourselves in our, and there's there's stress involved with that. There's sacrifices in everything, right? So nothing's perfect.
Yeah, so I think he's got too much high expectations of himself. Again, don't really know he hasn't really said like what's his goal. Like again, being the best version of myself. Like it's something cool. Yeah, again, it's just meaningless, and it's just toxic. It's just toxic for him.
Yeah, I don't really know. Very confusing. Like, does he want to be a good dancer and then average at the gym and then average at league and then average at I don't know. What does he want to do? Jack of all trades, master of none. Don't know.
All right, so food for thought, Mr. Philipe.
There's a lot there.
All right, do you want to take over the mailbag for once?
Yeah, I got something here. This is from Peter from the MLA. This is called a love letter to the BBC. So let me just pull it up. He actually got some pretty remarkable results. He's from OS as well. And
another OS person.
Here we go. All right. So, about me. He's been playing the game since season 3. All roles except jungle. He's a competitive person, but he's always lacked the dedication or reason to push himself to improve, especially in solo queue. He mostly played with friends. Talks about how he kind of played a little bit of ranked flex and all that stuff. Last year, he started listening to BBC. He was inspired to take his solo queue more seriously. None of his friends take solo queue or any game seriously, and in a way, they're actually willing. In a way that they're willing to consistently dedicate time to improving, so that they're not dedicating any time to improving in anything, essentially. So he said, I wanted to join the MLA to be a part of a community and to get better myself. I tried several mid lane champions in ranked at the end of last season and decided I'll take on solo queue with Yasuo and Yone, finishing in 2021 in Plat 2. Then after missing the cut to get into the MLA twice, I got in the third time by preparing all my answers in a doc and copying and pasting them in the website to get in, blah, 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 blah. By the time I got in, I had about 200 ranked games this season. He climbed himself from Platinum 2 to Diamond 3. Then with the help of Curtis and the MLA VOD library, I've achieved Masters for the first time this September. And according to League of Graphs, he has played 660 ranked games this season with a 52.9% win rate with 460 games of Yasuo and 180 of Yone. Now he goes into here to talk about his philosophy and his psychology. When I started this journey, I really thought I would just focus on improving aspects of my gameplay. But when you lose nearly half of your games and don't necessarily feel like you have impacted the result of the games you win, doubt starts to affect your play. Why am I losing? What the hell are my teammates doing? Do I not have the innate ability to play high mechanical champions in Diamond and above? I think I spent about 400 games moving up and down between D4 and D2, and I couldn't get a grip on how to win consistently with my champions. During this time, I'll take VODs to coaching as often as I could, just trying to find ways to improve my gameplay. It was difficult sometimes because Curtis is an exceptional League of Legends player, but not an exceptional Yasuo player. Curtis takes a very clinical and controlled approach to winning a game, but my previous Yasuo experience was all instinct and anticipation. I only really am aware of simple thoughts in game, which translate to feelings of jungle threat or kill pressure on an enemy laner, or what type of game states feel good or bad. If I become aware of my own thoughts in game, I lose touch with the flow of skirmishes and make mechanical misplays, exactly like we spoke about today in the episode. After being stuck at about D3 for several months, I accepted the fact that I might not make Masters this season, but I had no aspirations of going pro, so there was always next season. I also decided that I'd rather fail to get Masters this season with Yasuo than give up my champion and succeed with a mage or some playstyle I didn't enjoy. I'm not sure what changed exactly, but at some point, the little improvements I learned from Coach, mixed in with my own improving mastery of Yasuo, pushed past the laners of this elo. I played my best League of Legends when I focused on beautiful Yasuo execution, not necessarily making more plays, but beautiful execution of the fights that I took. So what did I actually improve to go from low diamond to masters? I improved resets. actually backing it around key spikes or just when I had around 1300 to spend. This improved my skirmishing because I now had more stats when chaotic events happened. I improved my laning plans. A lot of times my wave management allowed the enemy to play the lane when there were ways that I could have put them further behind. I also dived deeper into matchups, watching high-low VODs and my own replays to look at 1v1 improvements. I only played an average of 3 games a day. I was often tired from work or uni, but even on my holidays, I tended to perform worse after 3 or 4 games, as if my working memory was tired or something similar. Some days I only had the mental energy for 1 or 2 long games, so I would just play them and keep up the consistency of playing at my elo. I spent a lot of time thinking about games or lanes or just watching other people play the matchups to see what was possible. Yasuo is playable into every mid laner, even theoretical hard counters like Vex or Renekton. And in my experience, the lanes against Zed, Victor, Azir, One Tricks were harder than the counter matchups because these players actually had the experience in the matchup and their mastery was similar to mine, whereas the counter pickers had no idea what I was going to do. These people are using a platinum mindset. X beats Y champion. They can't think of creative ways to overcome the obvious counterplay, and thus so they aren't prepared for the way I play the lane. I warmed up in practice tool 5 to 10 minutes before every block. My hands needed to do what my brain imagined, and I practiced combos until I didn't get them wrong or on target dummies. I made general principles for mid-game based on work with coach, prioritization on objectives when I was ahead or when they were free because we had a man advantage. Yasuo and Yone can both melt neutral objectives, so I didn't need to wait for my jungler if I had vision on the enemy. I prioritized CS and XP in the mid game and not running across the map to join unexpected team fights or hovering my team in case they fought. To me, this is a cost-benefit analysis issue. At worst, my team takes a bad fight and loses 4v4 or 4v5, but I get the farm and experience to be a threat. At worst, I can hover, run over to join, we all die, and I don't get the experience in farm. It is a percentage play to make sure that you are a carry threat throughout the game and not to risk it all on unexpected fights. This is not the same as grouping for objectives, but rather when there is no objective available. Gold and experience is priority always. So my final thoughts. Finally reaching Masters was one of the most satisfying achievements of my life. That was my goal for the year and I made it happen. Every time I reach a new peak, I inevitably demoted. So I suspect I will demote out of Masters before long, but I know with certainty that I can get here again and I'm prepared to keep slogging away to improve as a player to see how far I can go. My next goal is Challenger by the end of next year.
Unbelievable. The first thing that I love about just the opening statement, I love journeys, not just in League of Legends, but, you know, we talk about studying. Like I always get upset. I don't really care about where people are. I care about what their journey is, right? He went on this journey by himself. There's something so powerful in being like in isolation, just going after something. It's such a human experience in my eyes, you know? So he goes, because think about how difficult that is. Like, and think about how much resistance he would have. Why are you trying so hard? Like, come on, come play this normal game with me, you know? And the way he starts talking about the game, you know, to them, it's like, you know, he might...
Like his friends.
Yeah, his friends. I'm talking about his friends. Yeah, so that's such an awesome decision. Going on a journey. And this could also be for, I feel like that, you know, people have like friendship groups, right? And you're sort of like inclined to like what they like and stuff like that. You know, I think that, you know, doing a hobby, like completely different from like, and going on and like meeting new people and stuff like that. I think that's like a really cool experience. I had that personally when was with my football friends, right? I used to play, you know, Australian football, and I was like, I really like field hockey, and I'm just going to go out on my own and do that. And that was like a bit of a scary thing, but that was such a rewarding experience. I was like on my own journey, and that was like the first time I actually somewhat started to get, because I was horrendous at AFL football, but I felt like I was doing that because just to make other people happy. But I went over on the own journey.
Good at hockey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't get really good, but like compared to that, like, you know, I was pretty good in relation to an under 13s team, right? So, but that was an awesome isolated journey because I had no one to even, I had to all teach myself, and that was an awesome experience. So yeah, I think that isolated journey is such an awesome thing to go on. What we talked about before in terms of curiosity. I mean, look at the way he's talking about the game, what he tried. Like, this guy is super curious. He was super motivated. And he obviously was really, I love the part where he talked about the narratives. Like, this is the platinum mindset narrative. He sort of observed, it's like, because people are very rigid, you know, let's say as a platinum player who's played the game for a long time, he noticed that, he said that it's like, this matchup wins or doesn't win versus get creative, be curious, mastery, push your limits, like learn how to lose. So, I mean, he's ticking all the BBC boxes, man. He's getting results, which is amazing, incredible.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The curiosity, but he knew what gave him fun and satisfaction. He didn't want to do it any other way. He wanted to do it with Yone Yasuo. That's what he wanted to do. And he stuck to it. He put in the hard yards. He studied the matchups. He did the warm-ups, the process, the blocks, the reviews. He did it all. He did it all. And he got the result. And I think that what I love about it, he stayed true to himself. And yeah, he's like, if there's a roadblock, if something's not working, he would try to figure it out. Well, he also went to a high elo challenger player in OS and just asked him questions. He was just so curious, going out of his way to ask other people questions, getting multiple perspectives, which is so great to see. I love those proactive students that try to ask as many people as possible and just trying to solve a problem just earnestly. So props to Peter. Thanks for writing that one in. Appreciate you sharing that. That's going to inspire a lot of other people, hopefully. And looking forward to helping you get challenger next season, man.
Absolutely. And he's on OS, so we'll be playing with him, dude.
That's right.
We'll be in his games. I'll be
ganking him on Rek'Sai.
Ganking him, dude. You're not going to survive my ganks. You're not going to get minion waves in. I'm never going to let you get a wave in. I'm never going to give you allow you to get a good reset. That's what I'm obsessed with, by the way. This is the most fun I have in League of Legends.
Yeah, I remember you cancelled that one reset in my game and it won the game.
They won the game, dude. I was so
You won the game off
dude.
for cancelling a reset.
Because I knew this, because dude, laners greedy base all the time. I love punishing greedy base. Remember, I always reference this moment. Remember that MSI game we played with Direwolves? Calvin King, he literally greedy base and we straight up lost the game because of it.
One reset.
I love it. I love laners. They're so greedy, dude. I get obsessed with cancelling people's bases or not letting get... Like, think about how annoying it is when you want to get a good reset. Let's say you had a solo killed and the jungler's in your face, like, not letting you get the wave in.
I actually forgot about that. You actually ruined my night now.
Oh, really?
That was one of the most
I reference that all the time in my coaching sessions.
Experiences as a coach ever.
Yeah.
That was 2017 MSI, wasn't it?
No, wasn't that 2018 World? Wasn't it World? 2017 Worlds in China?
Where was it?
I think it was in China.
Yeah, I know who it was against. It was against Holy Phoenix.
Yeah.
It was Holy Phoenix. It was the Turkish team.
Yeah.
And they were playing Caitlyn, weren't they? We were playing Ezreal? Or was it the other way around?
I think he was playing Ezreal, yeah.
I swear they were playing Caitlyn. Anyway.
Okay, maybe I can't remember.
Yeah, and King overstayed. No, he tried to reset. And he reset in a really greedy location.
And then he got stuck there, and then he's just getting poked.
Yeah, because then the enemy played Caitlyn, they just kept shoving him in, and we couldn't get a reset. And then our jungle tried to come down, relieve pressure. And then their jungle came down, turned into a 3v3, and they wouldn't let us get the reset because they couldn't get the wave out.
Yeah.
And then we just lost the game. And they lost 3-4. They lost like the tower, and then the game was just over.
I always reference that. I will never forget that moment because I remember the feeling in the room after we came back. Because it's such a dumb way to lose a game of League of Legends, and it pisses me off. All right.
That was aggravating.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll finish up with one more question. This is a fun question. Funny VOD review moments. Curtis and Nathan, this is from Christopher. I'm just curious, what the most egregious play that happened during a coaching session was and how you responded to the play? I think it could make funny stories to end off in the BBC episode.
That's a good one, yeah. You start.
So what I actually like to do, I like to sometimes show, like, let's learn from the enemy jungler's perspective.
Yeah, I
so
love
like
that.
They'll make like this really basic or game losing play, sort of just to show that people are just making, like, your opponents, they're just equally as vulnerable to like making massive plays. And if, like, we actually have fun, like we all laugh at, like, because we know it's like this is the anti Saltu gank you could be doing, and we all get excited about it. And I think it's just a cool way to learn as well, of just because sometimes, you know, you could always be about them, and you don't really learn as much. But if you show other people's mistakes that you're versing, you're literally your opponent, you can see how flawed they are in their gameplay as well. And And it's been really, we've seen some funny things. Like, I think we had this 1 week. Oh, just some horrendous clears. Like sometimes we're like, this is like a world record. Like this guy's like a Shavana finishing the clear at 350. You know, like just some like horrendous. Another funny thing that we do, we have a Saltu world record for staying on the map with the most amount of gold. And people, I think our record is about 5,300 gold.
What?
Yep. It's like a thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think the only thing that I try to meme, I try not to meme, but the only time I meme, I'll say, we're about to set a world record for the amount of gold.
I was like, let's see if you're going to reset it. This amazing opportunity to reset, but nah, you're going for this camp now. We're just like, no, now you're stuck on the map even longer. And
then just like, keep staying.
And then what we all do is we'll say, when's the reset going to happen? Or when's he going to die and throw the game, you know?
I remember, like I've had instances where people like based on like a full death cap. A full death cap.
Yeah.
You go back and get death cap.
Yeah.
I had a client, he could have bought a straight death cap and then he didn't buy death cap. He bought something else. He bought something and like a component. I'm like, dude, you can buy a full death cap. If you can buy a full death cap, the game's over. Like death cap is like the reason death cap is such a good item, but it's hard to buy because the components suck ass.
So expensive, yeah. And you have to like sit on like you have to like reset, and you got 1,000 gold. Like I can't buy my nearly large rods. Right. What do I build?
It's such a hard item to build, but it's so good. If you can buy it outright, it's like OP.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I think that's the only real ones. Or yeah, that's really it, honestly. I can't really think of anything else that's like memeing. I mean, sometimes I just see someone completely butcher, like have the complete wrong hypothesis in a matchup. I like doing ones where the enemy, it's like it's the enemy's lost lane off the first auto attack. Like sometimes they're funny where like I review games where it's like, I actually did an example a game of me. It was like the enemy hit the wave. I'm like, I knew at this point the game's over. I think it was Azir versus Victor. I was versus Guapi and we were playing the Victor versus Azir matchup and I was reviewing it in the MLA and he placed his soldier too far up in the lane, not near the minions. So I automatically get shoved. Okay. If I get shoved from level 1, it's game over. Yeah, and he also
can't bully you off minions.
Yeah, and he took also the wrong. I think he took like the wrong summoner or something as well. I'm like, okay, with this plus this, I knew what's gonna happen for the next like 6 minutes now. It's lane over.
Yeah,
and it's like everyone's like, oh, that's like the doper thing, and so what said about the fizz and. It's the same thing. I know there's some matchups I know so well. Now I know that matchup so well, Victor versus Azir. Like I can play it perfectly. And if they make one thing wrong, if they don't take the right rune, if they don't direct the same summoner, if they don't take the right item, if they don't play the first wave, the first literally 3 auto attacks right, I win.
It's just methodical.
It's just methodical. Now it's just going through the motions.
Executing.
I love those. But it's not really funny. It's just like, yeah.
They're like exciting. Oh, you're missing with the enemy jungler starts. That actually doesn't happen. I think that it's so ingrained in Saltu culture. People just would never bring a VOD they've done.
They already know what you're gonna say.
It's just too ingrained at this point. So, but that was funny. Sometimes it just happened quite a bit. But all right, that's it for this episode, guys. Let's keep on improving. We got about 6 weeks left for the season or something like that. So
better be nervous.
Have a crack.
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on.
Everyone performs well with pressure.
See you guys next time.